Welcome back, everybody, to the KC Sports Report. I'm your host, Michael Darcy, and today I'm going to break down if the Kansas City Chiefs should reunite with a former friend and trade for Tyreek Hill. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, this is a very interesting video topic. Should the Chiefs go out and make a trade for former superstar wide receiver in this offense, Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill, as we know, got traded to the Miami Dolphins. And the Chiefs were able to be pretty successful since Hill left. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls, and Tyreek Hill is not super happy in Miami. Right now, Miami is at a bit of a down streak. They have a quarterback who is probably concussed as we speak right now, and they don't really know what the future looks like. And so there's a possibility that Miami might be talking to other teams about trading Tyreek Hill if the Dolphins continue losing. Right now, they are not a good football team. They've won one game. And so if they continue losing, I think that offers for Tyreek Hill might make a lot more sense. But the whole reason that I'm making this video and talking about it is this is something that, Nick Wright of First Things First actually talked about on his show. I'm going to play that clip right here.
Well, the cap's
head in your heart kind of.
No, the cap's doable. Because Tyreek Hill's bonus money mostly, and so it's the cap would not be.
Is there any financial downfall to it for the Chiefs? In the future?
They would have to make sure they have $15 million for him next year, and then you know what I mean,
right.
Like that, which is nothing. That's what. No, the big cap piece of it is the dead cap hit Miami would take by trading him, but it would be because this is a lost season. I believe when you're trying to be a 10, 15, 20-year dynasty, you have to make sober-minded decisions, recognize the value of draft picks and those contracts, be reminded of the fact the Chiefs built an entire super young, excellent defense, aside from Chris Jones, through the draft. It's what has kept them afloat when the offense has been figuring things out. They've traded away Tyreek Hill. Since then, they are 7-0 in the playoffs. They have not lost a playoff game. Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowl MVPs and 1 league MVP. With that said, oh my God, I'd love him back.
Yeah,
I would break so many of my other rules about team building to go for a three-peat because they have hit on so many of the young defensive players in the draft. I feel like if you had to give up a first and a third for Tyreek Hill, they could sustain that. You know what I mean? And they could make it work financially. And then even if you get amazing Rashee Rice news, all of a sudden you have a perfectly built, dynamic receiving core out of thin air.
Yeah.
Because Tyreek's your one, Rashee's your possession guy, and Xavier Worthy is your rookie speedster, and all of a sudden Tyreek Hill's the second fastest player on the team. So this would involve Miami waving the white flag on the season. But by Miami, they should do it.
Yes, if they can get Tyreek Hill.
There would also be some poetry to it.
He also wants to come back.
Oh, he so wants to come back. He misses it so much.
So I found it very interesting that Nick Wright laid out what the contract would look like, how a lot of the, money that we think Tyreek Hill would cost wouldn't end up being that much in the grand scheme of things for a number one wide receiver. Probably anywhere from, $15 to $16 million a year. And considering they were going to give him $25 to $27 million a year, you're getting Tyreek Hill at a discount. And granted, Miami would have to eat a lot of that cap, but if they could get a good asset in return, I think that Miami would actually consider it. And listen, again, you get into the whole discussion of would an AFC team trade with the Chiefs because the Chiefs have kind of, owned the AFC since, they traded Tyreek Hill. But I think that Miami could be in a position that they're just trying to get draft capital. They're trying to get a lot younger at the position. And so Tyreek Hill could become available. Now, do I expect him to, be somebody on the market? I'm not sure. They actually asked Tyreek Hill what he thought about the trade rumors, and he was basically like, I'm not really focused on that. I'm only trying to control what I can control. And while that sounds good, listen, that is what every superstar player says right before they get traded. And so Tyreek Hill could very well be shopped to somebody else in the AFC or maybe the Chiefs. And I've seen, different reports that Brett Veach and the Chiefs front office are closely monitoring some different teams' wide receivers. I think Amari Cooper's one. There have been reports, by some people on Twitter that the Chiefs are eyeing and monitoring the Davante Adams situation. I don't think that's happening. I made that video yesterday. But here's why a Tyreek Hill trade might make sense. Listen, I think you could offer the Dolphins something that they would take. I think they would take a first-round draft pick and maybe a third or a fourth. I think that Tyreek Hill is coming off of a great season. I mean, he was voted the number one player in the NFL by his peers. But listen, with Tua's injury status being so up in the air, the Dolphins might have to shift from that whole win now mode to, okay, let's actually think about the future. And being frank, Tyreek Hill does not belong in their future. He is not going to fit the timeline of them being good again. And so maybe a trade for Tyreek Hill would make sense. And listen, I know Nick Wright kind of said that, he would throw out a lot of the rules that you make, for a trade because it is Tyreek Hill. Usually you don't want to, trade a bunch of assets to get a player who is in his 30s and he's aging and, maybe the best days are behind him. But at the same time, the Chiefs wide receiver room right now is in desperate need of that superstar, in desperate need of somebody to come in and be that definitive number one wide receiver. And if that's what they're going for, then Tyreek Hill is a fantastic option. Now, do I see the Chiefs pulling off this move? No. I think that the Chiefs probably would go with somebody like Amari Cooper or DJ Moore or even Deontay Johnson from the Carolina Panthers. I'm not sure if they are willing to give up the draft capital needed to acquire Tyreek Hill. I think that it would probably cost a pretty penny. You would be giving a first or a second round draft pick, a high round draft pick, and they would probably want additional compensation. And maybe they'd want a player or two. So I'm not sure what the asking price would be. But again, as the Dolphins continue to, choke away games and lose games in dramatic fashion, I think the asking price for Hill will become available. I don't think the Dolphins would hold on to this asset if they're sinking. And so let's hope, as Chiefs fans, that the Dolphins continue losing because, man, the thought of Tyreek Hill back in a Chiefs uniform, it brings shivers down my spine. Listen, I just got done talking about the Kansas City Royals advancing to the next round of the postseason. To go from talking about that to talking about Tyreek Hill reuniting with this Chiefs offense, I'm getting hit with nostalgia today. It has been a throwback Thursday, so to speak, and I would love to see it. Listen, if you could do it for a reasonable price, I think you've got to do it. Now, there might be an issue of clearing up that cap space, but listen, if the Chiefs are serious about three-peating, they're going to have to go out and get some talent at wide receiver, and if you could get Tyreek Hill for a little bit more than what you would get, Amari Cooper for, then it might be worth it. Now, I think that Amari Cooper is going to be much cheaper, but again, guys, we are talking about somebody who is one of one. You really cannot replace Tyreek Hill. We all remember how deadly he was in this offense, and that's a scary thing going forward. Like, if you could find a way to get him back into the mix, this Chiefs team is legit. They went from having no wide receivers to the best wide receiver in the course of, a week or two. And I think that if you could get Tyreek Hill, he's not even the fastest guy on your team anymore. Xavier Worthy ran a faster 40 time. Now, there's a difference between, football speed and combine speed. But the Chiefs' wide receiver core would give opposing teams' defenses headaches. It would be the worst thing to try to game plan because you have two guys that vertically can run significantly faster than your fastest guy. And so that is such an exciting thought. But again, real world, if we're being realistic, I don't know if the Chiefs are willing to give up that capital, make room with that cap space to acquire Tyreek Hill. All I'm going to say is if the Chiefs are serious about three-peating, I would definitely look into it. And listen, it's not like Tyreek Hill would not want to come back here. His friends are here, and I think that, he could kind of come back and prove a lot of the people wrong. There's some people in Kansas City that do not like Tyreek Hill. I'm not one of them, But if he came back and produced, that's kind of the way of maybe redeeming yourself with the fan base. And I think that that's something that Tyreek Hill might not make it look like he cares what fans think, but I think that he definitely does. And so, Brett Veach, get on the phone. Get on the phone and try to, talk to that Dolphins front office about shipping back Tyreek Hill. We miss him. He'd be great in this offense. And I think that that's your solution to your number one wide receiver position. And that would be, oh man. I mean, this Chiefs team would win the Super Bowl. Point blank. They would win the Super Bowl. And so, if you're serious about winning, and I know the Chiefs are, go out and even leverage a bit of your future to go out and win now. And I think that if Brett Veach was a shrewd GM, he's going to make a move like this. And so definitely keep your eyes peeled to the free agency news and see where these players get traded. But yeah, I'm all for trading for Tyreek Hill. Do I think it's realistic? Maybe not. But again, I'm all for it if the Chiefs can find a way to work this out. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What do you think about the possibility of bringing back Tyreek Hill? I know some fans might love it, some fans might hate it, but that's why I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. That's all I have for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe for future Chiefs content, go follow me on social media, Instagram and Twitter, KC_sports report. And the TikTok is also KC_sports report, but I messed up. The Twitter is actually at KC Sports Report. The Instagram and TikTok are the same, but the Twitter is different. I'm working on fixing that. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching this video, and go Chiefs.